I bought another tri-drive Paystar, and this time I didn't even have to do any work to it. It was nice and shiny and clean when I got it. Okay, well, it wasn't nice and clean and shiny, but it was in good mechanical condition. It just needed a little bit of love. So here I am picking it up from the paint shop about a week earlier, and we had the frame sandblasted and painted. They also did the rims and around the bumper area, and they did a really nice job of this. This is a shop I hadn't used before. They're a little ways out of town for me. It's about a half-hour drive on the highway. And at this point, I realized the truck had no fuel in it, so we had to pull over and get some fuel. But it gave me a chance to take a good look at the truck and look at the work they did. Everything turned out pretty good, I would say. I'd like to ideally get the hubs painted when they paint the frame. In this case, they just painted the end of the hub. But ideally, we would have the wheels pulled off and paint the lug nuts and the hub and everything around that black, and then put the wheels back on. So that's something we can work towards. The detail shop will do that for me, so it's not really the end of the world that the paint shop doesn't do it. But, you know, this is the first few trucks for this company, and just getting to feel them out. As you can see, the paint is pretty, you know, it's in good shape. It's all there. It's just kind of faded, and you can see excess glue and discoloration. So that's something the detail shop's going to have to work on. But for now, we got to take this thing on the road and put some miles on it. The speedometer was not working, which meant the cruise control wasn't going to work too good. So that's one thing that definitely needs to get addressed mechanically. It might have even been from painting the frame, because if you get paint on the little sensor on the back of the transmission that senses the speed, it'll stop working. But yeah, we got the truck into the detail shop, and what they did was acid wash the cab, which takes all of that yellowing out of the paint. And then they buffed the paint, like a multiple, I think like a 3-stage polish they do on the paint, all the aluminum. And if you didn't notice, those are new aluminum rims and steer tires we put on the front, which meant we had to do longer wheel studs. And it's not too big of a job, but it's just another thing that has to get done. But it really sets off the truck. Like, this is the finished product now, and I think with steel rims on the front, it just wouldn't show the same. Now, in a perfect world, I would have done aluminum rims on the back as well, but that's a pretty significant cost, not just for the rims, but also for the wheel studs. And then there's always the debate of, do you leave the steel rims on the inside and just put like a little rubber spacer between the steel and the aluminum outer rims, just so that there's no dissimilar metals touching and they don't seize on there? Or do you actually do longer wheel studs and buy 6 more aluminum rims at like $300 a piece, just for the inside where no one's going to see? So, you know, it's kind of hard to know how far to go with that. All around, I think it would have cost, I mean, we're probably looking between $4,000 and $5,000 to do aluminum rims on the drive. So, you know, that's something we could do down the road. I mean, this truck is a truck for inventory. You know, there's trucks I buy and keep and play with, and then there's trucks that I buy and sell. I do have an active dealership, so this truck is a piece of inventory, so I have to be a little bit careful with how I spend my money on this particular truck. You know, to put another $4,000 or $5,000 into aluminum rims on the back of the truck, perhaps the customer would pay $4,000 or $5,000 more for the truck. But if I'm a betting man, I'm gonna guess I'm probably better off not putting that much money into the truck. I can advertise it a little bit cheaper and hopefully send it on to its next home a little bit faster. So as you can see at this angle, that's a long frame. This truck has 28 feet of frame behind the cab, and about 27 feet of that is usable. The exhaust stack takes up about a foot. So there's lots of frame there. And this thing has the Cummins ISM engine with the AC pump you can see there, that's nice to know there's an AC compressor on this truck. That means this truck has factory AC. They don't all have that. There's your big turbo. It's typically a whole set turbo on these Cummins ISMs. This ISM. This truck's a 2006. So in the 90s, it was called the Cummins M11, and then they, in I believe 2000, switched to the ISM. It's a nice, simple engine. You can get about 400 horse out of it. You can push it a little bit higher if you really want, but about 400 horse is where they're happy. But yeah, they don't give too much trouble. In all the years that I've been dealing in these Cummins ISM engines, I've only had to have a couple injectors replaced and water pump, and I think that's it. I don't think we've ever had to really open one of these up and do any serious top end or bottom end work to them. So they're super reliable. Whereas like the Cummins ISX, which is like a 500 horse motor, you can get them in a 600 horse as well. That's the one, like the one block size up from this. It's a whole different beast to keep those things running. To rebuild the engine properly, an in-frame, which is like where you don't take the block out of the truck to rebuild it. You just slide new sleeves and liners and everything in, pistons, everything else. That's like $35,000-$40,000 to do in these trucks, from what I understand, like if you had an ISX. Whereas this ISM, I don't even know what it costs because I don't know anyone who's ever had to do an in-frame. So that says something. They don't get as hot. You know, there's all kinds of reasons why a smaller horsepower truck is going to last a little bit longer. That ISX, you also have to do like camshaft, and the front seals leak all the time, or the front cover leak. So there's quite a bit of upkeep on the bigger horsepower engines. So yeah, I think this is a good little sweet spot. It depends what you're looking to do with it, but you know, this is a heavy spec tri-drive truck. You can haul, 50,000 pounds or something like that on this truck all day with 400 horsepower, and it's more than enough. Maybe if you're in the mountains or something like that, maybe you want a bit more horsepower, but this thing does the trick. This truck has a 20,000 pound front axle rating and 54,000 rears. So that's 74,000 pounds of GVW, and the truck weighs about 25,000 pounds. So yeah, realistically, you can haul about 50,000 pounds, depending on where you are. The problem with tri-drives is not every state or province will give you the full weight rating of your axles on a tri-drive. So more than anything, it's because a lot of state governments don't even know what they are. So yeah, a lot of the rules have to catch up to tri-drive trucks. Only a few years ago in the province I live in, you could only get a fraction of the GVW on these trucks, and now you can get a lot more of your weight capacity and actually use it. The rules have changed, so it's a bit of a slow process, but they're catching up at least. I mean, there's still provinces in Canada where you're not allowed to run tri-drives. As far as I believe, there's a few maritime provinces on the East Coast, from what I've heard, where you're not allowed to run tri-drives. So hopefully those rules change quick. I'm pretty sure there's people trying to lobby the government right now to get that changed. So yeah, that would be great, and it would be a great new market for me to be able to send some of these trucks out that way as well. That is potato country out there, and this truck has the Eaton Fuller 9LL transmission, and I believe a 5.89 gear ratio, which makes it do 0.7 miles an hour in low gear, which is the exact speed that a potato digger or lifter does. So this is perfect for a potato box. But again, the tri-drives aren't allowed in some of the places where they have lots of potato farming. So yeah, that'd be great if those rules would change for me, being in the business of selling these trucks. Now, there's no way around it. This is a long truck, so that's going to affect your turning radius a little bit. These trucks turn pretty tight overall, but if your axles are, 28 feet behind the cab, that's going to make a pretty big difference. I'll have to measure the wheelbase on this truck, but it's long, so you do have to take your corners a bit wide, and you have to be smart with it. There's those 425 steer tires, brand new on those aluminum rims. This truck has a nice aluminum battery box cover and an aluminum fuel tank, which is great if you need to, see if there's anything stuck in your teeth, check out your outfit. You can do that all just by looking in the fuel tank, but only if my detailer did the polishing, because he does a great job. Now, this is another one of those situations where it's hard to know what to do, and I'd value your feedback. Leave a comment, let me know what you would do if you're in my position. But these tires all match. They have a decent amount of tread left. They still pass safety. But, I would like to put new tires on a truck like this. I feel better about it showing it. I just think a guy buying a truck like this would like it to have new tires when he gets it. But, is that $4,000 or whatever it is in tires going to come back to me at the end? I'm not sure. So I always have to make these calls on these trucks, and you got to do what's right, but also at the end of the day, it is a business, and you have to be smart with it. You can't overspend. And the customer also doesn't want you to overspend, because then you're gonna have to price this truck out of their price limit. So yeah, it's hard to know what to do. I don't know. If something's broken or unsafe or needs to be replaced, you definitely need to do something about it. But there's certain things where it's just hard to know. So here you can see a little bit of the range of motion for the steer axle, how these things turn. That's a big tire. This truck has 20,000 pound front axle with dual steering boxes, so it turns all that meaty rubber there with no problem at all. It'll do it just fine. But yeah, I thought I would get a couple little shots just driving around, and that's how that went. So luckily I was in reverse, because if I was going forward, that would have been terrible. And while we're on the topic of expensive mistakes, that could have been one. Almost flew the drone into a tree way off the beaten path. I would have had to go wander and get it and fix whatever I broke. So luckily I just barely missed that tree. But yeah, this is basically the finished product appearance-wise for this truck. It's got to go get some mechanical repairs done and safety certification, and then it'll go up for sale. But let me know what you think. You think I made the right call on the way I did things with this truck? Is there anything you would do different? If it was your money you were spending, would you make the same calls I did? But yeah, this is going to be one for inventory. It's going to be for sale soon. And don't forget to like and subscribe and follow along. And there could be another video on this truck. We'll see how far I take it. Thanks for watching.